My racing mind, exhausting, unimaginable thoughts that most may never understand. Paying attention, analyzing thoughts, emotions, reactions, and always learning. A constant effort to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and a desire and need to find calm, find peace, feel safe, and a chance to just be.
Bushnell presents Prairie Pursuit, brought to you by Bushnell, built for the pursuit. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. JB Sausage Supply, your one-stop shop. Nordic Lodge, where friends become family. North Pro Sports, performance archery and arms. And these fine sponsors.
It's interesting, as you tell a story, you can always put yourself back in that moment and things become so clear. And until you really start to tell your story, those clear images they're not always there. But when you start to tell your story, and you start to relive and reimagine and rethink about what went on, there's all those fine details that incredibly, in any kind of a traumatic situation, have the potential to come back and be right there and be so vivid. That's one of the things that I've learned in telling a story over the years is that I've become very comfortable with doing, but yet still, as I tell it today, emotion comes out. The reality is I was shot with a high-powered rifle at about 20 yards, a 30-06 at about 20 yards by a guy that I was doing an investigation on.
Right after Greg was shot, a team of investigators from Saskatchewan, who I later worked with, very capable homicide investigators, attended to Carrot River and investigated the shooting of Greg Toogood. Ultimately, they identified a suspect and they arrested the suspect, but the Crown prosecutor was not willing to press charges, not willing to support charges, and unfortunately they had to let the shooter go.
I have to be honest, I was a little bit nervous about setting something up and pushing somebody into an environment that they weren't comfortable with. I had this kind of a sense of responsibility, and as I'm sure an outfitter does too, whether it's, and you can feel it when you're talking to them, but for me personally in this was setting this up and talking to you and figuring out what that fear was, and then actually following through and putting in that situation. I have to say I was apprehensive on the other end too. I was feeling responsible and feeling like, my gosh, if something happens here, my gut is turning a bit. And the stars aligned. You did amazing, and beyond what I ever could have imagined this turning out to be. I'm blown away.
So being on the ground, that's a whole new level of vulnerability, right? And like you said, this is about pushing boundaries and maybe getting a little bit uncomfortable. And for sure that was, right? You and I both have, in excess of 20 years in law enforcement. We've lived fear here and there throughout that career. When I think about fear, really is, and as I get older, You know, fear is really comes from a place of the unknown. It's something you don't know. You don't know. You're going into a situation you don't know, or you know, up against something that you don't know. And I really think now, and the older I get, you have to face those fears. You have to challenge yourself. You have to push yourself. Otherwise, you're not living. And I think that's what we did here. You know, really, I had you know, I had a preconceived notion and apprehension with bears, for sure. And getting out in those tree blinds and those ground blinds and being around these animals and dealing with the hunt, dealing with this kill, you know, wow. No, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for lining this up, pushing me out of my comfort zone. You talk about facing your fears and the confidence that you build from it and the growth, the personal growth from it. Absolutely amazing.
As the years went on, I really struggled with trust, and talk about a fear, from going from being open and engaging with and just living a life where all you want to do is meet people and get to know people and be yourself, to hiding and fearful of someone wanting to maybe finish the job that I didn't accomplish at the time. I remember Dad calling me. He says, "Dad," he says, "Greg, you're kind of reserved." It ticked me off. You know, I was like, well, I'm not reserved. And it was actually kind of and that stands out. You know, of all the things and all the conversations I've had with Dad over the years, it's one of those things where for some reason I remember that. And like an incredible impact that this had on me as a person, and really made me act in a certain way that wasn't me. I became someone completely different. I was afraid of every conversation. I knew how important the outdoors was to me. I would climb into a tree stand and I would literally shake, not because I was cold, but because I was afraid. I would actually I would get into a tree stand to hunt with a firearm and feel like I was hunted.
Nordic Lodge, the accommodations, the food, the people, it's just kind of special here. And all the guides, I've worked with 3, maybe 4 different guides, and they're all just outstanding. They're just outstanding. They know this lake. They know where to put you on fish.
What does the word generation mean to you guys? And second, how do you define fear?
Generational, I've introduced my son and a lot of his friends to hunting and fishing, and my son is introducing my grandchildren to that, and I get to be part of that. I don't necessarily think that outdoors has to mean that you have to be a hunter or you have to be a fisherman. I think that means getting out and enjoying it and experiencing new things. Fear. I guess my definition of fear is being unwilling to try new things and just letting that control your decisions.
When I look back on my life, fear has stopped me from doing so many things, or I haven't done it with my whole heart, my whole mind, and then you have regret. Like facing that fear and pushing through. There's amazing things in this life.
So we were paying attention to our timelines and to the forecast, and we knew we had until Tuesday to hunt, but we also saw in the forecast that Tuesday's weather was not going to be friendly. Lots of rain in the forecast, winds, everything that was going against us for our final day of bear hunt. So we had Monday to make it happen. Morgan got his bear Sunday night. We were up late, but we were also needed to get up early to get back on the boat. We had a plan. We were like, we got to catch some trout. We got to get that on film. Pressure was on for Paul to get us on some fish, and back into the bear stand for me on the last night, because we knew that was going to be it for the hunt. I'm hooked on a trout. I'm assuming that's what it is. Yep. Lake trout out of Reindeer Lake. Look at the colors. Wow. It's like the coolest camouflage. Look at that top, the top of it. That is so awesome right there. There we go. What a beautiful fish. You could feel the bite was different. Oh, wow. We end up catching one trout, take some pictures, we're on the board, we're starting to think this is exactly what you know. We're talking, we're like, if we can catch a few more trout, can you imagine if we went out, got that, head out tonight and get a bear? It's like picture perfect. So what are we looking at?
Oh, these are old Indian paintings.
And when you say old, like how old?
Back, we don't even know how long it's been.
Lo and behold, just put in a little bit of extra time and pushing the limits, we end up pulling in a few more trout, catching them on film, and getting back to camp just in time to load up to head out for the bear.
I can see it on your face. Brother, you've been bearing in the way.
I wonder what Andrea would say about my diet this week. I don't really feel like I've eaten that much. I've been on the go so much. A little sustenance before a long sit in the stand. We're going a little bit earlier than we have been. It's pretty neat. The spot that we headed to on day 3 was close to where we were on day 1. The chance to pull up a boat, back up a quad, we were portaging around a dam to load up the boat, get it over. These guys have like a well-oiled machine, about 10 minutes to load up 2 boats, portage them, unload them, getting back in and around and off to the bear baits. So it's a really neat experience. Not what I pictured when they were talking about doing a portage, but it worked perfectly. They did it flawlessly, and we headed into the stand. Oh, Yogi with the X'd out eyes. My bow was bouncing around pretty hard, so I was just trying to keep an eye on it there.
Well, if we start bouncing, I'll hold on to it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just slide it down here.
What did you put right down?
It's 20 feet for sure.
One plate trip.
There, pause.
I see some more of these tonight.
This time, dropping Morgan and I together off with Greg, and it was just the 3 of us. Now, we didn't have Paul with us, we didn't have Quentin with us. It was just 3 of us, and the stand was different. I know it was pushing the limits for Morgan to get him into the tree stand on his own with a crossbow to go after a bear. And then day 2, when he got his, now he's in a ground blind. They get him into a ground blind on day 2 on his own. The ground blind was like clawed, and they had to put it back together. As you could see that he knew that there was bears in there. He was raising that up and pushing the limits a little bit further for him. That was the night that he sealed the deal. Now tonight, on the last night, we're going into a spot where there's not much more than a few twigs between us and the bears. And when we go in, Paul's topping up the bait, and while he's on his way in there, bear, there's a bear on the bait. So once we set up, Morgan's kind of curled up in the corner, and I sit up, good spot, brush in the blind a little bit more, and the bait's topped up, and within 5 minutes the bears start rolling in. One of the bears that Quentin mentioned was coming in was black from nose to tail, so I knew what I was looking for, and it was going to stand out. We had a number of sows and a smaller boar come in, and this was about the 4th bear that came in. He came in like he owned the place, went right to the bait without hesitation. This bear just strolled right in, scared off another bear, ate for a bit, and I had to decide. This bear was black from nose to tail. So I thought, well, this has got to be the one that Quentin was talking about. I'm trying to decide and put everything together that this is the bear that I want to take. And the bear turns, he eyeballs us, he looks at us right through the little hole that we've got in the blind, and he starts to make his way over. He stops about 5 yards from us when we yell at him a little bit. I thought, you know what, this bear at this time is really starting to create that moment for me. Came in like he owned the place. I was trying to analyze and figure out if this is the bear I want. He came in and gave us a little bit of a show, and on his way back to the bait, I decided this was the bear I was going to take.
So put your hand in mine. You're not alone. I'll be by your side through it all. And what was sown in tears will reap with joy.
Or that I wanted, he started to come around, and he stopped probably 4 or 5 yards from the bait, and I thought, well, he's going to come in. He's perfectly broadside. He's not in my like kill zone. I don't have a kill zone shot, so I drew back. I wanted to be ready for when he did, and I don't know how long I was at full draw, but guaranteed it was the longest I'd ever been at full draw on a bear. He took a few steps forward. He wasn't moving, and I started to shake. I shifted over slightly, and as I'm looking through my peep sight onto my sight, I could see the kill zone, and I let the arrow fly. There's such a feeling of relief when I watched. I was confident in my shot. I could see the arrow go right where I needed it to go, behind the front shoulder, a little bit lower, right through the heart, and I was so confident that it was an instant calm.
Holy cow, man. And he's down. Right there. Let's go see.
I didn't question the moment at all. It was perfect. Well, buddy, that's it. That was pretty cool.
What?
You know, like a chance to sit with you in the blind after you had your,
Yeah.
experience last night, and chance to have you know, our cameraman here with us too. And just back in here, we're in northern Saskatchewan in really the middle of nowhere, probably in a spot that I'll never set foot again. Well,
Good job, buddy.
thanks, man.
That's awesome. Glad I could be here and glad I could be a part of this. And thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Like anything, when you're putting a hunt together or any kind of a project together, you have a vision, an idea how you like to see things to go. And in this case, it was finding the person that you can put into a position where you can do exactly what I hope to do. In this case, it was the perfect opportunity, and how everything played out, from the fishing to the hunt to the stories to what this all meant. It's truly unbelievable how everything came together the way that it did. I know how much being outdoors means to me, how it has literally saved my life and given me those opportunities to find that clear and calm and peacefulness and safety and push limits in different ways. It teaches you so much, and what we got out of this was more than I ever could have hoped for. I think everybody has a story, and everybody has something that goes on in life that tests us and pushes us in ways that we could never imagine. And in this case, we tested them. We pushed those challenges, those fears that were created from those moments in our lives head on. It's absolutely unbelievable what we can learn from ourselves, what we can learn for the future, and what we can learn to pass on to the next generations just by going outdoors. Go hunting, go fishing, go outdoors, go on an adventure. You never know what you're going to find.
Bushnell presents Prairie Pursuit, brought to you by Bushnell, built for the pursuit. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. JB Sausage Supply, your one-stop shop. North Pro Sports, performance archery and arms. And these fine sponsors: